Full time here, Max. I know I can't see you, but I'm so happy to spend some time with you. You know, I've been inspired. As soon as the lockdowns, the social distancing began, folks in the sports field found a way to stay engaged. My old employer, ESPN, doing hits from folks' homes to cover the NFL, doing whatever it takes. My hat's off to folks rolling into the studios, whether it's at ESPN or CBS, doing yeoman's work, talking much ado about nothing with regards to sports, because as we know, the calendar is just being wiped off, at least for this year. But we have to stay diligent. And again, I've been inspired about the pragmatic approach, and I'm looking to do that too. We've got to stay engaged. This is very important that we do, so that when we come out the other end, and my goodness, it's going to be, I've seen it in my head over and over again. The time when the athletes trot out, when the commentators blare out the games of all sports, when we see it on TV, one after the other, and what a moment it's going to be. And you know everyone's going to want to put their best foot forward. It's going to be a better sports landscape than we had, but we have to wait for that. I also want to apologize for my appearance. I wanted to shave and look good for all you guys. I'm not one of those guys. I'm not going to shave for this, but if I could be frank, I dropped a giant piece of flooring, fake wood flooring on my big toe, and it's in pretty bad shape. It keeps bleeding, and so I'm showering and shaving. I mean, I'm going to shower later. I mean, I've showered yesterday, but you got to be very strategic. That's not what I'm here to talk about. Let's talk about the stories that are making news. The biggest is Euro 2020, now Euro 2021. The whole competition moved by UEFA to next summer, hoping to accommodate the European leagues this season. I don't know if they said it's a hard date. It cannot be, because everything's fluid at this point. We just don't know. I work in Major League Soccer. My great colleagues there at LAFC and those at every other club await, and the news we hear is it's not going to be April. It's not probably going to be May. It's going to go beyond that. So we wait, but we stay engaged. And the European Championships did the absolute no-brainer of a move. I worried that they're going to drag their feet, and thankfully they didn't, because there is no way this could have been done this summer. There is no way. There's no one could explain you otherwise that this could possibly happen. 24 European nations in the first one that's being played all over Europe to celebrate that anniversary, with games in Italy, France, and Spain, and Azerbaijan. All these nations, Italy, Spain, France, as a nation, I'm not talking about sports, I'm talking about as a nation. Italy, Spain, France, and Norway are on lockdown. You figure more countries, maybe the United Kingdom, will follow soon. We're in mid-March. It's not going to get better. This was a smart move, and I take my hat off for UEFA not stalling too long, because there may have been a temptation to do that. I'll talk about Copa America, which also moved from 2020 to 2021, but first things first, it seemed like an easy move. 2021, let's rescue the tournament. There's a huge dollar or euro sign or pound sterling sign attached to this competition. Outside of the World Cup, it is the biggest. It has captured our attention. I remember all the Euros, covering them at an early time, and the incredible triumph of Greece, the Denmark triumph back in '92, what we've been able to see, Cristiano Ronaldo breaking through. These are moments, and as you've heard so many times in the past, it is a competition that many say is better than the World Cup, because from 1 to 24 in Europe is better than 1 to 32 on the world. You're not going to have too many teams that are going to look out of place that you tend to see at World Cups. So the European Championships are getting moved, and I just want to stop, think about the players, because we put an amazing burden on them time and time again. Can't do 2020. I know you thought you're going to have your summer off in 2021, but no, we're going to fill that. Any player who gets called up for his country for the European Championships is absolutely going to put his hand up. And I still think we've got to remember what's happening, because they're not getting time off in 2020. They, like you and me, are thinking about their families. They're thinking about their future. They're thinking about everything they're going to do. They're thinking about how they stay in shape. That is difficult. When we're in the States, we have no idea how bad it is in some European places. Just the stories that we hear, and we're hearing really, really bad. This is a harrowing situation for everyone, including those players, and now they have to reassess when they may have thought some time off. I know you're saying that's a drop in the bucket, but we put such a huge burden on the players as is. The FIFA, UEFA, the CONMEBOL calendar is exhausting, and it's just growing. The powers that be are in a room thinking of more competitions to throw at the players, and the players are the ones that have to play it. So I think sometimes I don't think we have their best interest in mind. But we need to have the Euros, as I said, it's such a massive competition. Copa America moving from 2020 to 2021, I would have almost skipped the Copa America. They had a great addition last year with all their star players. If they had one here this summer, I guarantee you, Lionel Messi, Luis Suarez, Neymar probably would not have attended because it's an odd year. And to have it 1 year after what felt like the showpiece event was strange. But now they're doing it 2 years, but I think you're going to have the same issues. It's going to be played in Argentina and Colombia. This is just Copa America has to reassess the amount of editions that they have. And sometimes it feels no rhyme or reason to how many Copas. So I think that's something that obviously is going to be secondary to the European Championships, which we get back to is waiting for the conclusion of the European leagues. There was some news out of England that unless the Premier League is completed, Liverpool will not be given the trophy, even though they deserve it. But I guess you have to rule with an iron fist with regards to those circumstances. Is there an end in sight for the Serie A? I just don't see it. The way things are moving in La Liga, perhaps we don't see an end there. The Champions League, which was shaping up, to me, it was going to be, you had 12 teams remaining, and I think 9 or 10 had a shot at winning this. This had a chance to be a real special tournament. With Liverpool out, I don't see an end for that competition. So much money involved in the European leagues. We're worried about the champion. What about relegation and promotion? How do you resolve that? There's going to be some weird playoffs because you need to go through that process. It's an absolute necessity. And there are some teams, let's just use the Premier League, for example, that don't deserve to be in the Premier League and shouldn't be rewarded because of what is happening with CV19. Competitions are all secondary, obviously. We hear stories about clubs, Barnet laying off their entire staff. Other teams are going to do this. Perhaps in a bigger level with leagues or competitions, it's impossible to keep it going. But when we look at the European leagues, I don't see a finish line. When you see Juventus now, Blaise Matuidi getting a positive test. Mikel Arteta in England, a positive test. It's a scary list that has to be resolved. But we'll keep our head up, and we look forward to that. You speak of positive tests. The Japanese FA president tested positive. That was an FA that shared space with the U.S. Federation. And you see how the self-distancing and the quarantine is so essential because it's this connect of the dots, especially in the world's game. Careful. Stay at home. Go outside for a little bit. Little physical activity is huge. Stay home. As we mentioned, there are some places that are worse than others. Obviously, Italy is the lion's den right now for cases. Here in the United States, you hope and you feel that they see and heed that warning. And I think we are here, finally. Some other places are not. And Brazil is at the top of that list. Jorge Jesus, who is the premier manager, he is the manager of Flamengo, all triumphant Flamengo, reports that he had a positive test, now a negative test, which is absolute relief. But the games were going on, and there is a disconnect there with regards to the CBF, the Federation for the Brazilian football, and then the local federations, because they're now in their regional competitions, which I think are smaller in comparison to the Brazilian championships or the Argentine championships or the Libertadores. These are the regional ones. And in Brazil, you have the Minas Gerais and the Carioca, the Brazil League, the Paulista. These are going on. Saw a game this past weekend in the Maracanã, an empty stadium, which just I couldn't believe it. The biggest 80,000 seat stadium. Why? Jair Bolsonaro, a political figure who is in the crosshairs here, and folks from the local federations pushing the state championship, and it goes on. Gremio, players coming out with face masks to protest, playing there in Porto Alegre. I don't know anything about anything, but when I see that flippant outlook, I fear for Brazil and what we see in Italy. You know, even Mexico, we thought about it, but Mexico finally slammed it down. No more games this weekend. Brazil is that last bastion. Australia, though. Australia. What's going on, folks? The AFL, not soccer, but Aussie Rules Football, they are going to kick off their season. They're going to kick off their season as I talk to you in a few hours. It's not going to last long, and they're going to pull the plug at some point. They just have to, because we've seen how it happens everywhere. On a brighter note, the Italian canals are clean, and dolphins are swimming there because all the ships of the business and are now out of the waterways. So there are some bright spots. There's bright spots. We're in this together. Subscribe to YouTube, my YouTube, Max Prados. We'll get together here soon. And todos somos juntos. Vamos, Brasil!